Fluency in English is a goal that many individuals dream of achieving. The ability to express thoughts smoothly, without hesitation, is not just a skill. It is a doorway to new opportunities, friendships, and self-confidence. For those who have struggled with the language, the thought of speaking fluently may seem like an unreachable milestone. But like any journey worth undertaking, the path to fluency is built on perseverance and patience. I can vividly recall the days when I struggled with English. Speaking even a single sentence felt like an insurmountable task. My words would falter, and my thoughts seemed to stumble before finding their way out of my mouth. Shyness enveloped me, and I often hesitated, fearing that my mistakes would invite judgment or ridicule. Each interaction became a source of stress, and the frustration of not being able to communicate effectively weighed heavily on me. I longed to speak fluently, to join conversations with ease, and to express myself without overthinking every word. But that longing came with a persistent fear of making mistakes. This fear was like a wall separating me from fluency. Every time I tried to speak, the thought of mispronouncing a word or using the wrong grammar would hold me back. It was a cycle that fed on itself. My hesitation to practice made it harder to improve, and my lack of improvement deepened my hesitation. Then one day, something happened that changed everything. My teacher, someone I deeply respected, said a simple yet powerful sentence that altered the way I viewed my struggles. You can become fluent if you practice every day, they said. Those words, though ordinary on the surface, struck a chord within me. It wasn't a grand statement or a magical solution, but it carried a truth so profound that it shifted my entire mindset. That sentence was like a light in the darkness. It made me realize that fluency in English was not some elusive gift bestowed upon a lucky few. It wasn't something you either had or didn't have. Instead, it was a goal, one that could be achieved with consistent effort and dedication. The idea that I could actively work toward fluency, step by step, was both empowering and liberating. My teacher's words also introduced me to a new way of thinking about learning. They compared the journey to fluency to planting a tree. This analogy stuck with me, and over time I began to see its wisdom. Just as a tree begins as a small, fragile seed, so too does fluency start with small, uncertain steps. At first, the seed is barely noticeable. It requires careful attention, water, sunlight, and protection from harm to grow. In the same way, learning a language demands daily nurturing. Each day of practice is like watering the seed, providing it with the nourishment it needs to grow. Initially, the progress may seem slow, almost invisible. There are moments of doubt, when you wonder if your efforts are making any difference at all. But with consistent care, something incredible begins to happen. Just as a seed gradually transforms into a sapling, then a young tree, and eventually a towering presence, your language skills start to grow stronger and more resilient. This analogy also reminded me that the process of growth is not always linear. Trees don't grow uniformly. They face storms, droughts, and other challenges along the way. Similarly, the journey to fluency is filled with ups and downs. There will be days when speaking feels effortless and others when it feels like you're back at square one. But these fluctuations are a natural part of the process, and each challenge presents an opportunity to learn and improve. The idea of fluency as a goal rather than a gift gave me hope. It made the journey feel achievable, no longer shrouded in mystery or out of my control. It also encouraged me to let go of my fear of mistakes. Mistakes, I realized, were not signs of failure, but proof that I was trying. Each misstep was a step forward, a chance to refine my understanding and grow closer to my goal. Reflecting on this metaphor of planting a tree, I found myself inspired by the potential within every learner. Just as anyone can plant a tree and nurture it to maturity, anyone can achieve fluency in English with dedication and effort. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And while the journey may require patience, the rewards of confidence and self-expression are well worth the effort. Fluency is not a far-off dream. It is a seed waiting to be nurtured, one day at a time. Practice is key. Fluency in English, like any other skill, doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that demands consistent effort and practice. The journey can feel daunting at times, but every small step contributes to building your confidence and ability. I often share this with my students, many of whom face similar struggles. One of them, a young woman eager to improve her speaking skills, shared her frustration with me. She said, "I always forget the words when I'm trying to speak. I know what I want to say, but the words just don't come out." Her experience was not unique. Forgetting words and hesitating while speaking are common obstacles for many learners. I reassured her with a truth that I wish someone had told me earlier. Fluency isn't about remembering every word. It's about practicing consistently. It's not perfection that builds fluency, but persistence. Words and phrases naturally embed themselves in your memory as you use them more frequently. She took my advice to heart and began practicing daily. She started small, engaging in simple conversations with friends and family. It wasn't about delivering perfect sentences, but about getting comfortable using the language. She also discovered the joy of listening to English stories, immersing herself in narratives that expanded her vocabulary and exposed her to the rhythm of the language. Singing English songs became another favorite activity of hers. Through these songs, she not only practiced pronunciation but also internalized sentence structures and learned how words flowed together. The change was not immediate, but it was steady. Over time, her confidence grew. She began speaking more naturally, pausing less to think about what to say next. Her friends noticed her progress, and their encouragement motivated her to keep going. It was a powerful reminder that fluency is a journey, and every step, no matter how small, leads closer to the goal. When I was learning English, my journey bore many similarities to hers. Stories played a significant role in my practice. Listening to stories in English transported me to a world where I could hear how the language was used in real-life contexts. At first, I found it challenging. I had to pause frequently to understand what was being said, and I often repeated the words slowly to ensure I got them right. But as I continued, something amazing happened. The words began to feel familiar. What once felt foreign and difficult became natural. My pronunciation improved, and my vocabulary expanded without my even realizing it. Words and phrases from the stories began finding their way into my everyday speech. It was during this phase of learning that I realized an important truth. Fluency isn't about speaking fast. It's about speaking clearly and confidently. This understanding removed much of the pressure I had placed on myself. I didn't need to rush my sentences or worry about mimicking the speed of native speakers. What mattered most was delivering my message in a way that others could understand and connect with. Clarity is the cornerstone of communication, and it's often overlooked in the rush to sound fluent. When you prioritize speaking clearly, you give yourself the space to think about what you're saying, which reduces the likelihood of errors. Moreover, it gives your listener a better chance to follow along and engage with you meaningfully. Practice, I discovered, was not just about speaking. It encompassed listening, reading, and even writing. Listening exposed me to the natural rhythm and intonation of English, helping me understand how words connected in conversation. Reading stories and articles broadened my understanding of grammar and vocabulary, while writing helped me organize my thoughts and express them coherently. Songs were another unexpected yet delightful tool in my journey. I found that singing English songs allowed me to mimic native pronunciation in a fun and memorable way. The melodies made it easier to remember phrases and expressions, and the act of singing boosted my confidence. It was as though the music created a safe space where I could experiment with the language without fear of judgment. Looking back, I understand that fluency is not a destination, but a continuous process. Even native speakers learn and refine their language skills over time. What sets successful learners apart is their commitment to practicing regularly, no matter how small the effort may seem. Consistency builds habits, and habits create mastery. This is why I encourage every learner to embrace the practice. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. They are an essential part of learning. Each mistake teaches you something new, pushing you closer to fluency. Celebrate your progress, no matter how minor it may feel, because every bit of effort you put in adds up over time. Whether it's through conversations, listening to stories, or singing songs, find the methods that resonate with you. Make practice enjoyable and varied so that it doesn't feel like a chore. Surround yourself with the language as much as possible, immersing yourself in a world where English becomes a part of your everyday life. Ultimately, fluency is not a gift reserved for the few. It's a skill that anyone can develop through dedication and consistent practice. Start small, be patient, and remember, every time you practice, you're watering the seed of fluency, helping it grow into something strong and beautiful. The journey may be challenging, but the reward of expressing yourself with clarity and confidence is worth every step. Overcoming fear of mistakes. Mistakes are an unavoidable part of learning any new skill, especially a language as complex as English. Yet, they're often viewed with fear and embarrassment, which can hinder progress. It's crucial to understand that making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It's a natural and essential step toward growth. In my years of learning and teaching English, I've seen countless examples of how embracing mistakes can transform a learner's journey. One particular student stands out in my memory. She was bright and eager to learn, but utterly terrified of speaking in English. Her fear stemmed from a deep-seated anxiety about being judged or laughed at by her peers. This fear was so paralyzing that she avoided participating in class discussions and rarely practiced speaking outside of lessons. Despite her potential, this apprehension kept her progress stagnant. During one of our sessions, I addressed her concerns directly. I told her something that had helped me during my own struggles with learning English. Every mistake is a step toward improvement. I explained that no one starts out perfect, not even native speakers. Mistakes are not something to be ashamed of. They are opportunities to learn, refine, and grow. At first, she was hesitant, but gradually, she began taking small steps toward overcoming her fear. She started speaking during class, even if it was just a sentence or two. Yes, she made mistakes, mixing up tenses, mispronouncing words, or using incorrect vocabulary. But instead of focusing on what went wrong, I encouraged her to celebrate what she got right. With each attempt, her confidence grew. The turning point came when she realized that her peers were supportive, not judgmental. They applauded her efforts and often helped her when she struggled with a word or phrase. This positive reinforcement made her more comfortable and motivated her to keep practicing. Over time, her sentences became more fluid, her pronunciation improved, and she started expressing herself more naturally. This experience underscores an important lesson. The fear of mistakes often exists more in our minds than in reality. Most people admire someone who is trying to learn and improve. The act of speaking, even imperfectly, shows courage and determination, qualities that others are likely to respect rather than ridicule. Another powerful tool for overcoming the fear of mistakes is changing the way we think. Many learners struggle because they translate their thoughts from their native language into English before speaking. This process can create hesitation and confusion, as the grammar and structure of one language don't always align with another. Thinking in English can be a game changer. At first, it might feel unnatural or difficult, especially if you're used to translating everything. But starting with simple sentences can make a big difference. For instance, instead of thinking, "I want to go to the market" in your native language, and then translating it into English, try forming the sentence directly in English. I want to go to the market. The benefits of this approach are twofold. First, it trains your brain to operate directly in English, which speeds up your response time and makes your speech more fluent. Second, it reduces the likelihood of grammatical errors that often occur during translation. When I was learning English, I practiced thinking in English by narrating my daily activities in my head. For example, while brushing my teeth, I would think, "I am brushing my teeth." While walking to the store, I would say to myself, "I need to buy milk and bread." These simple exercises helped me build familiarity with the language and made it easier to express myself in conversations. The key is to start small. You don't need to construct complex sentences right away. Begin with basic observations or thoughts, and gradually work your way up to more detailed expressions. Over time, you'll find that thinking in English becomes second nature, and speaking follows naturally. For many learners, the fear of mistakes is tied to a desire for perfection. They believe they must get everything right from the start, which puts immense pressure on them and often leads to frustration. It's important to let go of this unrealistic expectation. Fluency doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means being able to communicate effectively despite them. Imagine a toddler learning to walk. They stumble and fall countless times, yet each fall teaches them how to balance better and move with more confidence. Language learning is no different. Every misstep brings you closer to mastering the skill. Another helpful strategy is surrounding yourself with a supportive environment. Find friends, classmates, or language partners who are patient and encouraging. Practicing in a judgment-free space can boost your confidence and make the learning process enjoyable. Mistakes also provide valuable feedback. They highlight areas where you need improvement and guide your learning. For instance, if you consistently struggle with verb tenses, that's a sign to focus more on that aspect of grammar. By addressing these weaknesses, you can turn them into strengths over time. As my student discovered, the fear of mistakes diminishes the more you practice. The act of speaking itself becomes less intimidating, and the sense of accomplishment from being understood outweighs the fear of errors. Remember, every fluent speaker was once a beginner. They, too, made mistakes, stumbled over words, and felt self-conscious at some point. What sets them apart is their willingness to keep going despite those challenges. Mistakes are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones on your path to fluency. Embrace them, learn from them, and use them as a source of motivation. With time, persistence, and the right mindset, you'll find yourself speaking with confidence and ease. Build fluency through everyday activities. One of the most effective ways to develop fluency in English is by incorporating learning into your daily life. Fluency isn't just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. It's about using the language naturally and confidently. By making English a part of your everyday activities, you can practice consistently without feeling overwhelmed. Let's start with one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for language learning: reading. Reading opens up a world of opportunities to expand your vocabulary, improve your comprehension, and familiarize yourself with sentence structures. For beginners, it's best to start with simple books, such as children's stories or graded readers designed for language learners. These books use straightforward language, making them less intimidating and easier to follow. I remember a student who was eager to improve her fluency, but felt discouraged because she didn't understand everything she read. I encouraged her to persevere, reminding her that understanding 100% of the text isn't necessary to reap the benefits of reading. She began with short, simple stories, jotting down new words and phrases as she went along. At first, it was slow going. She had to stop frequently to look up meanings and practice pronunciation, but she didn't give up. Over time, her efforts paid off. The more she read, the more she noticed patterns in sentence structures and learned how words were used in context. Her vocabulary grew, and with it, her confidence. Eventually, she moved on to more challenging materials like novels and articles. The key was consistency. Even reading for just 10 to 15 minutes a day made a significant difference. Writing down new words and using them in sentences is another great way to reinforce learning. When you encounter unfamiliar words, don't just memorize their meanings. Write them down in a notebook, along with example sentences that show how they are used. Then, challenge yourself to create your own sentences using these words. This practice not only helps you remember the words, but also teaches you how to use them correctly. Recording yourself speaking English is another highly effective technique. Many learners feel nervous about speaking in front of others because they are unsure how they sound. Recording provides an opportunity to listen to your own voice and identify areas for improvement. Start with simple exercises like reading a paragraph aloud or describing your day. Play back the recording and pay attention to your pronunciation, tone, and fluency. Ask yourself, are there words or sounds that you're struggling with? Do you speak too quickly or too slowly? Are your sentences clear and easy to understand? Once you've identified areas for improvement, practice again. Focus on specific aspects, such as pronouncing a difficult word correctly or speaking at a natural pace. Over time, you'll notice improvement in both your confidence and your ability to express yourself clearly. Another benefit of recording yourself is that it allows you to track your progress. Save your recordings and listen to them weeks or months later. You'll likely be surprised by how much you've improved, which can be a huge motivation booster. Practicing with a friend is also an excellent way to build fluency. Language learning doesn't have to be a solitary endeavor. Collaborating with others can make the process more enjoyable and effective. Find a friend, classmate, or language partner who is also interested in improving their English. Together, you can practice conversational skills, share feedback, and encourage each other. Start with simple conversations. Discuss topics that interest you, such as hobbies, movies, or daily activities. Don't worry about making mistakes. Focus on communicating and having fun. As you become more comfortable, challenge yourselves by introducing new vocabulary or practicing specific grammar structures. Role-playing can be a particularly engaging way to practice. Pretend you're in real-life scenarios, such as ordering food at a restaurant, asking for directions, or interviewing for a job. This helps you prepare for situations where you'll need to use English in everyday life. Plus, practicing with someone else makes it easier to simulate a natural conversation. Listening to your friend and responding in real time is also a great way to improve fluency. It trains your brain to think in English and helps you develop the ability to respond quickly and appropriately in conversations. Incorporating English into your hobbies and interests can make learning feel less like a chore and more like an enjoyable activity. If you love watching movies or TV shows, try watching them in English with subtitles. This helps you pick up new phrases, idioms, and pronunciation. Over time, challenge yourself to watch without subtitles to improve your listening skills. Music is another fantastic resource. Singing along to English songs is not only fun, but also an effective way to practice pronunciation and rhythm. Many learners find that music helps them remember words and phrases more easily because they're associated with catchy tunes. Podcasts and audiobooks are excellent for improving fluency as well. Listening to native speakers exposes you to the natural flow and intonation of the language. Choose topics that interest you and make a habit of listening while commuting, exercising, or doing chores. Everyday activities like shopping, cooking, or exercising can also be opportunities for practice. Narrate what you're doing in English, even if it's just to yourself. For example, while cooking, you might say, "I'm chopping vegetables," or "I need to add some salt to the soup." These simple exercises help you think in English and build confidence in using the language spontaneously. Lastly, don't underestimate the power of small, consistent efforts. Fluency isn't achieved through grand gestures or intensive study sessions. It's the result of daily practice and a commitment to improvement. By integrating English into your everyday life, you can create a learning environment that feels natural and sustainable. Building fluency is a journey, not a destination. With patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace mistakes, you'll find that each step brings you closer to your goal. Every word you read, sentence you write, and conversation you have is a step forward. Keep going. You're doing great. Real-life practice. One of the most effective ways to develop fluency in English is by integrating it into your daily life. Learning in a classroom or from books is important, but real progress happens when you begin to apply the language in practical, everyday situations. This approach not only strengthens your skills, but also builds your confidence as you navigate the challenges of using English in real time. Let me share the story of a student who worked in a shop. He was eager to improve his English, but didn't know where to begin. We discussed his goals, and I suggested that he use his workplace as a learning ground. His job involved interacting with customers, so I encouraged him to speak only in English during these interactions. Initially, it wasn't easy for him. He stumbled over words, struggled to form sentences, and often felt self-conscious. But he didn't give up. He saw each conversation as an opportunity to learn. When he didn't know how to say something, he would note it down and look it up later. Gradually, he noticed a change. The words started coming more naturally, and his sentences became smoother. Over time, what once felt like a daunting task turned into an enjoyable routine. His fluency improved significantly, and he also became more confident in dealing with people. This experience taught him that real-life practice is one of the best ways to learn a language. This story highlights an important principle. The more you use English in real situations, the more comfortable you become with it. You don't need to have a job in a shop to practice this approach. You can find opportunities in various aspects of your daily life. For example, if you're ordering food at a restaurant, try placing your order in English. If you're shopping, ask questions about products in English. These small actions might feel awkward at first, but they are valuable steps toward fluency. Another crucial element of real-life practice is curiosity. Curiosity drives you to explore and learn new things, and it can be a powerful tool for improving your English. Let me tell you about one of my students who exemplified this trait. She was incredibly curious about the language and would often jot down new words she encountered. Whether it was a word she heard in a conversation, saw on a billboard, or read in a book, she made it a point to look it up and understand its meaning. But she didn't stop there. She actively incorporated these new words into her conversations. If she learned a word like astonishing, she would find ways to use it, saying things like, "The view from the top of the mountain was astonishing." Her curiosity didn't just expand her vocabulary, it gave her the confidence to use English naturally and effectively. You can follow a similar approach by cultivating a habit of exploring the language around you. Whenever you come across a word or phrase you don't understand, make a note of it. Use a dictionary or online resources to find its meaning, pronunciation, and usage. Once you're familiar with the word, challenge yourself to use it in a sentence. This not only helps you remember the word, but also reinforces your understanding of how it's used in context. Real-life practice doesn't always require interacting with other people. You can create practice opportunities for yourself. For instance, try narrating your daily activities in English. As you go about your day, describe what you're doing. "I'm making breakfast," or "I need to go to the market to buy some groceries." This simple exercise helps you think in English and get comfortable using the language in everyday scenarios. You can also practice by setting small challenges for yourself. For example, dedicate a day to speaking only in English, even if it's just to yourself. Pretend you're a tourist in your own city and describe your surroundings in English. These exercises might seem trivial, but they play a significant role in building fluency. Watching movies or TV shows in English can also be a form of real-life practice. Pay attention to how characters speak, the words they use, and their pronunciation. If you hear a phrase you like, pause the video, repeat it aloud, and try to use it in a conversation later. Similarly, listening to podcasts or audiobooks exposes you to different accents and speaking styles, which can enhance your listening and speaking skills. Practicing with a language partner or tutor is another excellent way to use English in real life. Engage in conversations where the focus is on communication rather than perfection. The goal isn't to speak flawlessly, but to express your thoughts clearly. If you make a mistake, don't let it discourage you. Treat it as a learning moment and move on. Another fun and practical way to practice is by playing games or participating in activities that require English. For example, you could join online forums or social media groups where people discuss topics you're interested in. Contributing to these discussions allows you to practice writing and reading in English while engaging with a community. Traveling can also be an incredible opportunity for real-life practice. If you visit an English-speaking country, immerse yourself in the language. Strike up conversations with locals, ask for directions, or participate in local events. The more you expose yourself to English in real-world settings, the more confident and fluent you'll become. Lastly, remember that progress in language learning isn't always linear. There will be days when you feel like you're improving rapidly, and others when you feel stuck. That's normal. The important thing is to keep going and to embrace every opportunity to practice. Whether you're interacting with customers, exploring new words, or narrating your day, each small step brings you closer to fluency. Real-life practice is where theory meets application. It's where you move beyond studying the language to actually living it. By incorporating English into your daily routine and approaching learning with curiosity and determination, you can transform your skills and achieve the fluency you've always dreamed of. Set goals and stay motivated. When it comes to mastering any skill, including learning English, having clear goals is essential. Goals provide direction and purpose, helping you stay on track even when progress feels slow. They serve as milestones, reminding you of what you're working toward and why you started in the first place. Without goals, it's easy to lose focus and become overwhelmed by the challenges of learning a new language. One of my students had a very specific goal. She wanted to travel to an English-speaking country. Her dream wasn't just about visiting a new place. It was about experiencing the culture, connecting with locals, and fully immersing herself in a different environment. To achieve this, she knew she needed to improve her English. This clear objective became her driving force. She began by breaking her goal into smaller, manageable steps. She started practicing daily, setting time aside for listening to English conversations, learning new vocabulary, and speaking with friends who were fluent in the language. Her focus wasn't just on learning grammar rules or memorizing words. It was on preparing herself to use English in real-life situations. Over time, her determination paid off. Each day of practice brought her closer to her dream, and the progress she made further fueled her motivation. When she finally embarked on her trip, she was able to navigate new cities, communicate effectively, and form meaningful connections. Her story highlights how a clear, personal goal can transform the learning process into a powerful journey of self-improvement. If you don't already have a specific goal for learning English, take some time to think about what inspires you. Your goal could be professional, such as landing a job that requires English proficiency, or personal, like watching your favorite movies without subtitles. Whatever your motivation, write it down and revisit it often. Having a tangible reminder of your goal can reignite your passion when the journey feels tough. Motivation also comes from enjoying the process of learning. Too often, people see language learning as a chore, something they have to do rather than something they get to do. Shifting your mindset to view learning as an opportunity can make a big difference. Find activities that excite you and make English part of your daily life in a way that feels natural and fun. For example, watching English movies can be both entertaining and educational. Pay attention to how characters express themselves and try to mimic their pronunciation and intonation. Subtitles can help you follow along, but as you improve, challenge yourself to watch without them. Similarly, listening to music in English is another enjoyable way to learn. Focus on the lyrics, try to understand their meaning, and sing along. Music has a way of making new words and phrases stick in your memory. One of my students discovered her love for storytelling as a way to improve her English. She would write short stories in her free time and then read them aloud. At first, she struggled with grammar and pronunciation, but she didn't let that stop her. She saw her mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow. Over time, her stories became more polished, and her fluency improved dramatically. Writing, in particular, can be a powerful tool for language learners. It forces you to organize your thoughts and find the right words to express them. Whether you're jotting down a diary entry, composing a poem, or drafting an email, writing gives you the chance to practice using English in a meaningful way. Another way to stay motivated is to celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Did you learn 5 new words this week? Celebrate that. Were you able to order food in English without hesitation? That's a win. Recognizing these achievements reminds you that every step forward is a step closer to your goal. Accountability can also help you stay focused and motivated. Share your goals with a friend, family member, or teacher who can support and encourage you. Having someone to celebrate your successes and discuss your challenges with makes the process less isolating and more enjoyable. Setting deadlines for your goals can further boost your motivation. For example, if you want to improve your vocabulary, aim to learn 10 new words by the end of the week. If you're working on your speaking skills, commit to having a conversation in English at least 3 times this month. Deadlines create a sense of urgency, pushing you to prioritize your practice and stay committed. It's also important to remember that motivation can ebb and flow. There will be days when you feel excited to learn, and others when you struggle to find the energy. On those tough days, revisit your goal and remind yourself of why you started. Think about the progress you've made and how far you've come. Visualization is another powerful tool for staying motivated. Close your eyes and imagine yourself achieving your goal. Picture yourself speaking English fluently, traveling to new places, or excelling in your career. Visualizing success can inspire you to keep going, even when the road ahead feels long. Finally, surround yourself with inspiration. Join online communities of English learners, read success stories, or follow people who share their language learning journeys. Seeing others achieve their goals can remind you that fluency is possible and that you're not alone in your struggles. Setting clear goals and staying motivated are essential components of learning English. Goals give you direction, while motivation keeps you moving forward. By combining determination with enjoyable activities and celebrating your progress, you can turn language learning into a fulfilling and rewarding experience. Tips for consistent improvement. Mastering English fluency requires consistent effort, patience, and an eagerness to grow. It's not something that happens in a day or even a week, but with the right approach and mindset, it's entirely achievable. Here are some essential tips that can make your journey smoother and more enjoyable. 1. Listen more. One of the most effective ways to improve your fluency is to listen to English as much as possible. Immersing yourself in the language helps you pick up new words, phrases, and even pronunciation. Songs are a fantastic starting point because they're catchy and often repetitive, making it easier for new learners to remember words. Choose songs with lyrics you can follow and sing along with them. Conversations and stories are equally valuable. Podcasts, audiobooks, and even YouTube videos provide endless opportunities to hear native speakers. Listen attentively to how they structure sentences, use expressions, and emphasize certain words. Over time, your ear will become accustomed to the natural rhythm and flow of the language, which will significantly improve your own speaking and comprehension skills. 2. Celebrate small wins. Every step you take on your journey to fluency matters. Did you learn 5 new words this week? Celebrate it. Were you able to hold a short conversation with someone in English? That's an achievement worth recognizing. Small wins build confidence and motivate you to keep going. Remember, no effort is too small. Every new word you learn or sentence you construct brings you closer to your goal. Keeping a journal to track your progress can be especially rewarding. Write down the new words or phrases you learn each day and review them regularly to see how far you've come. 3. Step out of your comfort zone. Growth happens when you push yourself beyond what feels easy. It's natural to feel hesitant or nervous when speaking English, especially with new people, but overcoming that fear is key to improvement. Start by practicing with friends, classmates, or even language exchange partners who are also learning. If you're feeling bold, try speaking with native speakers or participating in community events where English is spoken. These real-life interactions will help you practice in an authentic environment, making you more comfortable with the language. Remember, every mistake you make is a lesson learned and an opportunity to grow. 4. Observe fluent speakers. Fluent speakers are great role models for language learners. Watch how they communicate. Pay attention to their tone, intonation, and body language. Notice how they pause naturally between phrases and use expressions to emphasize their points. Movies, TV shows, and live interviews are excellent resources for this. Pick a character or speaker you admire and try to mimic their style. Repeat their sentences, practice their pronunciation, and adopt their conversational techniques. You don't have to be perfect. The goal is to develop a natural flow in your speech. 5. Remember, fluency is a journey, not a race. Fluency is not about how fast you can speak or how many words you know. It's about clear and confident communication. It's easy to compare yourself to others and feel discouraged, but remember, everyone's journey is unique. Focus on your own progress and don't rush the process. Consistency is the secret ingredient. Practice a little every day, whether it's reading an article, writing a diary entry, or speaking with a friend. The more you immerse yourself in English, the more natural it will feel. 6. Stay inspired and keep going. What keeps you motivated to learn English? Is it the dream of traveling abroad, excelling in your career, or connecting with people from around the world? Whatever your inspiration, hold on to it and let it guide you through the challenges. If you feel stuck or unmotivated, remind yourself of your why. Visualize yourself achieving your goals, whether it's speaking fluently in a meeting, ordering food effortlessly in a restaurant, or enjoying a movie without subtitles. These small visions of success can reignite your passion and keep you moving forward. Your story matters. Everyone's journey to fluency is unique, and your experiences are no different. Maybe you faced struggles, celebrated wins, or discovered creative ways to learn. Sharing your story not only inspires others, but also reinforces your own commitment to improvement. We'd love to hear about your journey. What challenges have you overcome? What methods have worked for you? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experiences might just motivate someone else to take that next step in their learning journey. A final thought. Learning English is a rewarding and transformative journey. By listening more, celebrating your progress, stepping out of your comfort zone, observing fluent speakers, and being patient with yourself, you're setting. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more content like this. On this channel, we share practical advice, engaging stories, and useful strategies to help you learn English with confidence and ease. Let's continue this journey together. Leave a comment sharing your favorite tip or a question you have about learning English. Don't forget to like this video if it inspired you, and share it with anyone who might benefit from these tips. Your fluency journey starts now. Let's make it fun and unforgettable.